Design is dead. The design process, dead. Figma, dead. If you're a product designer like me, you've seen these narratives 1,000 times. We know it's exaggerated, but to what extent? How are design roles actually changing in real life? How do we stay relevant? Let's break everything down in today's video, and I will share some insider stories, plus online research. Stay until the end. Hey, I'm Aliena. I talk about design, business, and tech. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's go back in time a little bit to November 2022. OpenAI just released ChatGPT to the public, and in 5 days, it reached 1 million users. And on February 2nd, 2023, it reached 100 million users, faster than how TikTok exploded. And I was 6 months into my new product design job at eBay, and I was so excited about the pay-per-click advertising product that I got to design. I was very lucky because the product has gigantic business impact. So communication was so important. And then I discovered that ChatGPT can help me correct my grammar. A life-saving discovery. And I've been dependent on that feature ever since. And while I was there, correcting my grammar, software engineers discovered that AI could also help them debug and help them code. In 2024, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini were getting smarter. And meanwhile, AI startups like Replit started showing a different future. What if we could just describe an idea and then AI could just help you create an entire product? Well, they made it come true. By 2025, vibe coding platforms such as Replit, Lovable, and V0 had become more mainstream. And we could describe what we wanted to build, and then the AI would just generate a working application. I mean, you have to iterate like 1,000 times to make it launchable, but still, you didn't have to code every single line. So the message was empowering. AI enables more people to build software with natural language. And this term, vibe coding, was born on February 2nd, 2025. Andrea Karpathy, who was a founding member of OpenAI, posted this on X. And even Elon Musk replied to this post with a very detailed thought. And a lot of us still use this vibe coding term to describe this new workflow where we build products with AI. But. What happens to design when creating software becomes so much more accessible and faster? Well, some designers start to skip Figma, directly using AI to produce working prototypes and iterate inside AI tools. Some even produce production-ready code directly. And the boundary between designing and building started becoming less clear, especially for startups that depend on fast shipping. In 2025, Figma launched all of the following products: Figma Make, Figma Sites, Figma Buzz, and Figma Weave, and more. And these are an AI coding tool, a web builder, a marketing design tool, and an AI image and production tool. I mean, from Figma's perspective, there could be a ton of reasons that they did this. Maybe it's the pressure from their IPO. Maybe it's the failed Adobe acquisition that gave them $1 billion termination fee to spend. But from a normal designer's perspective, when I saw the design tool company that I rely on every single day suddenly expanded to all these new domains, it really made me sense that Figma is panicking instead of just expanding with confidence. And it made me panic with it. Then in March 2026, Lenny's podcast published an episode titled "The Design Process is Dead. Here's what's replacing it." It's a great episode, you can check it out later. Lenny interviewed a design leader working at an AI coding company, and she shared that in her workflow, drawing screens in Figma dropped from 60 to 70% of her time down to 30 to 40%. And she now spends part of her day writing code, going into front end, and polishing details directly. This episode went viral, and it wasn't the starting point of this entire design is dead narrative, but it definitely added to it. By the way, in the episode, she definitely didn't say that design is dead. It's more like there's a new design process in these AI companies. But again, the title was kind of scary, isn't it? Then in May 2026, Figma did a Design is Dead funeral campaign as a way to respond to this entire narrative. It was an interesting move. It was intended as a defense of design, but by defending the narrative, you also gave it more attention and hence more power. And this leads us to another layer that I really want to talk about, and that is how technology narratives spread. Social media platforms are optimized around engagement. Content that creates strong emotions, like fear, often receives much more attention because people are more likely to click, comment, share, and keep watching. And the longer an audience watches, the more money the platform makes because it can show more ads. A headline like "Design is evolving," it's much more accurate, but too complicated. People are not going to click. A message like "Design is dead, AI is replacing it, we'll all be jobless." Oh, this is much simpler. It creates fear, it creates urgency, it spreads, it's not accurate, we all know that, but it works. In addition to the online environment reinforcing a negative narrative, the content space today is also pretty much funded by AI companies to promote their product. And this creates a feedback loop. AI companies introduces new tools, which can generally be powerful. Creators like me demonstrate what these tools can do because AI companies are willing to pay us fairly and give us creative freedom. And then social media amplifies the most extreme examples. Designers see these headlines and start wondering whether they're falling behind. People outside the industry see these examples and start asking, well, if everyone can build with AI tools, why do we need specialists? And that is where the conversation becomes much more complicated, because the original promise of AI is genuinely exciting. More people can build, more people can experiment, more people can bring ideas to life. But the impact of these online narratives of many designers, it's fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of missing out, fear that if we do not immediately learn the newest AI tool or buy the newest AI course, then our career will disappear. So the design is dead narrative started because AI coding tools created a brand new way of building software. But as this new workflow entered the mainstream, a more extreme and fear-driven interpretation started spreading alongside it. So instead of accepting this internet narrative at face level, let us separate the fear from the reality. I would love to start diving into what designers around me are actually experiencing today. My friends are having very different experiences at work today because of AI. And while I'm sharing my discoveries, I would love to hear yours in the comments. Let me start with a few of my friends who are startup founders, and they are founded by YC, so that pretty much means they know what they are doing. And most of them are actually software engineers. I might know 2 founder friends who are designers, but I know way more software engineers who are becoming founders today. And the first discovery is, yes, they do not use the traditional design process and they vibe code everything. And in fact, I would say there is no process. It is all chaos, and speed is the only thing they are optimizing for.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Calm down!
They want to find product market fit fast because they're in the survival mode and there's limited money in the bank before they have to demonstrate some success to ask for the next round of funding. And if they could choose the timeline, I would say they prefer to launch now. Actually, launch yesterday. And even if the first version of their product is not that good, they would rather have actual user data to help them iterate. But when they come to me for design help, they often still think of a designer as someone who just make a product look better. So UI design. And I was pretty surprised because for us, didn't we go from UI design to UX design to product design, growth design, and not a design engineer? Like this entire journey, didn't we go through that already? But these top startup founders still expect just UI. Which, to be very honest, it is both very comforting and very uncomfortable at the same time. Comforting because I know that I can do way more than that. But uncomfortable because the problem with their product, it's way beyond just UI. Well, does changing the color of a bad building make the building good? No. You have to tear down the entire building and rebuild it if the structure is wrong at the first place. And that is what I see in every single one of these kind of new products. They're making mistakes like the landing page doesn't have a call to action that converts. The product looks and feels different from their landing page, or the main user flow in their product is confusing. So in this context, AI did not remove the need for design at all. It created a functional product, yes, but that is limited to the founder's design sense and product sense. And the founder know it. They just couldn't pinpoint the problem. So they often have to bring in design and product people to fix the strategy and the experience in the last minute, which is, by the way, pretty much everything other than the backend code. And when the designer joins this kind of fast startup, we definitely do more design engineering, because how else can you launch a whole new product in a month? However, I wouldn't say this is a completely different experience from the pre-AI era, because every single startup that I worked at before the AI revolution had the exact same problem. And the timeline they gave us were just as absurd as the timeline today. Now let's move from the extremely competitive AI startup environment to the opposite. Designers working at more traditional companies that are a bit slower and haven't adopted much AI yet. This group of friends often has a very positive experience with AI, especially if they are early adopters. And I'm not saying that you can use AI to automate everything in your job, but if you can use AI to do your job a bit faster and your company hasn't expecting that yet, then you pretty much just bought yourself time.
We're working.
Can you at least try to look busy?
And this group of friends is very talented at building a system that is reliable. And that itself is a skill set. And I do want to add a little bit of nuance here because I often sense that these companies tend not to have the best design process in the first place. To some people, this may be a disadvantage, but to others, this might be an advantage because then there's more room for you to customize the process. Maybe you can provide a working prototype to the front-end engineer, and they may be happy to build directly from it without a Figma file, whereas some other companies have a strict standard that you have to go through this meeting to make this decision and then put everything into Figma before you move into production. So it really depends. But this discovery really made me think that you can be AI native before your company is ready to do so. And you can use that toward your advantage. Now, my designer friends who work at more established product teams can experience the exact opposite. Let's say for my previous position at eBay Ads, I would say I spend 80% of my time on communication, like in meeting, pitching my design decision to different stakeholders. So execution, like bring the idea from low fidelity to screen, was the most enjoyable part and the easiest part. We had a design system and most design decisions were made within meeting. So hi-fi design in Figma was like the only time I can just enjoy in my room, put on a playlist or put on an audiobook, and then just use the design system to move things around to make it look great. And in this kind of environment, I can see how faster prototyping creates a new problem. Because building is not fast and fun. People may just jump directly into the solution. A product manager can have an idea in the morning and generate a functioning prototype in an hour or so and then bring to me. But a prototype only shows a possible future. It does not explain why the team should make this decision at the first place. It does not validate that there's an actual user need for this problem. Actually, it does not clarify what is the problem at all. What evidence supports this idea? What alternatives did we consider? Did we talk to any users at all before jumping into vibe coding? Because if we launch something like this in this kind of product environment, it will impact millions of users. And it's easy to launch, but it's hard to take back a feature, especially if you're charging the users for extra. AI makes great ideas come to life faster, but it also makes bad ideas come to life faster. And nobody wants to hear negative feedback on their prototype. So designers are stuck with two choices if they are facing a bad prototype from a business stakeholder. Number one, be the bad guy. Point out the problem, roll back the process on behalf of a product manager. Number two, take on the new design debt. Draw everything prettier in Figma, and if the product is not a success, you take on part of that responsibility. And this is where I think we need to separate two kinds of AI workflows. Some AI tools make the first prototype faster, but leave designers with more cleanup afterward. Other tools can give designers more ability to finish and ship the work themselves. And that brings us to today's sponsor, Framer. Most AI building tools we've been talking about were originally designed around an engineering workflow. Framer is very different because it has always been designed around how designers actually think and work. I've used Framer for years to design, build, and launch websites. You got absolute creative control, but it's not a prototype or mock-up. You're actually working inside the actual website that will go live. And Framer has now launched Framer Agent. It's one of the first AI agents that made me feel like it really preserves the part of the design process that we designers are really good at, while helping with the more technical work that can slow us down. For example, responsive design used to take me forever. Now, we can just design the desktop version and ask the agent to make it responsive. Here, I'm just prompting the agent and asking it to make it responsive, add a tablet breakpoint and a phone breakpoint. And with just one prompt, it already gets the work done for 90%. And I like to manually adjust the rest of the detail. Or you can just prompt it again to make all of the leftover adjustments. You have full creative control and freedom on both your design and your design process. I also like to use Framer Agent for motion design and just more technical things. Let's say if you want to build a button that copies your company's email address. That is actually not as easy as you think. Feel free to try it manually first. But now you can just use Framer Agent and just describe your need. And with one prompt, the button is already functional. I also like how Framer Agent is within Framer, so the result is not a disconnected mockup or a pile of code that needs to be rebuilt somewhere else. If you're working on a web design project, the link to Framer and this code is in the description. Go click it and try it out. And since the agent first launched, Framer also made it much more efficient. Larger tasks and multi-step tasks now take fewer steps and use fewer credits, which give you more power within the same budget. So go try it out. There are also some designers that I know that are working on emerging AI product teams, but within bigger companies, and their experience is also different. I've heard very little detail about their actual work because they all sign NDAs, so they can't talk about the detail at all. But overall, the sense I'm getting is that even if it's a company that has all the right systems and so many employees and a long history,
No, You're supposed to say rock the house.
Rock the
How
house.
would we know that?
Nobody fully understands what the product should become, and there's no system yet. So a huge part of their responsibility is working through that ambiguity without a correct answer, and they have to pave the way toward a new system, form new hypotheses, test them, and continue moving without a proven playbook. So if the challenge for a mature product team is working through new expectations inside an established system, then on an emerging AI team, the challenge is figuring out the system itself. Now let's look at some data, starting with my own audience. I launched a quick poll 4 months ago asking about your relationship with AI, and 1/4 of you love AI and use it all the time. Around half of you want to learn more about AI, and a bit less than 1/4 of you hate AI but need to catch up. I feel you. And 5% of you guys hate AI and will never touch it. Keep in mind that my subscribers who are actively answering my polls are also more likely to be beginners. Now let's look at another survey from the UX Tools in spring 2026. They also built a design audience before the AI revolution, and they have more people working in startups and freelance roles. Here's what they found. Figma is still the most used tool, but AI tools are catching up. Communication tools are also on the list. Now, how much of designers' time is actually spent vibe coding, using AI tools to generate code they may not fully understand but works? The responses were split into 3 groups. No vibe coding was the largest group, followed by some, and then mostly AI generated. And when asked how they feel about their roles right now, I see designers and researchers think AI will make their roles much less secure, whereas design engineers think AI will make their roles more valuable. I mean, yes, they are design engineers. And now let's look at Figma 2026 AI report. Figma found that the number of developers doing design work jumped from 44% to 60% in just 1 year. And vice versa, the number of designers participating in development has nearly doubled from 21% to 41%. So people are becoming more of a generalist, not just designer, but also engineer. But here's something interesting to think about. I feel like with AI, the definition of design and engineering are also becoming a little bit more blurry. Is prompting Cloud to make me a website also count as development? We don't know, but it's probably on our resume. Figma also found that AI's impact on all 6 dimensions of work has increased since 2025. And this includes organization goals, personal productivity, collaboration, projects, products and services, and tools. And when it comes to the production process, most teams are still doing things sequentially, completing the visual design first and then translating it into code. But significantly more teams are doing an iterative approach, moving back and forth between design and code, or more vibe coding. In my other video, I said this is like the bumblebee approach, because it's like, okay, you can see that video later. And when it comes to people's perception of the value of design, it is found that design's value has increased. To quote a software engineer, design, taste, and user experience matter more than before, so we are trying to improve them every single day. And interestingly, the teams that are leaning more into AI are 25% more likely to say design is more important now than it's ever been. Figma also found that 91% of designers are seeing AI as core to their careers in the long run. Now let's look at the AI in Design 2026 research. I saved this one for the last because based on the methodology, this dataset is more skewed toward senior designers who are pro-AI. They found that 75 of their responded designers are using AI in their design work daily. And designers are also using AI end-to-end. The largest increases were in code generation and front-end implementation, wireframing, and design systems and components. And designers are decreasing their use of AI for stakeholder presentations. Interesting. And this survey also found that designers' AI tool stack has more than doubled. Designers they surveyed now use 7 off-the-shelf AI tools, up from 3 last year. And these are the tools they are using for general AI, design-specific, coding and dev, and research. And this next finding is really interesting. Output quality is both the most popular driver of stickiness and the biggest weakness in current AI design tools. That's pretty much saying that so many designers are saying, I'm using AI all the time because it's giving me great results. And at the same time, so many designers are saying, oh, I don't find AI output very reliable. Also, design tools and AI tools are changing daily, and some designers describe this as a never-ending molting process that requires rethinking their entire workflow regularly. I fully agree. And when it comes to expectations, designers are expected to deliver faster turnarounds, more functional prototypes or real code, and more work and iterations. So the data does show that our tools, workflows, and expectations are changing, but it doesn't show that there is a whole new product designer replacing an older one. And that brings us back to the main question of this video. If design is not disappearing, who is the new product designer? Are companies even still hiring designers? And if they are hiring, what are they looking for? Based on the same AI in Design 2026 study, the survey found that 60% of design leaders actually expect to keep or grow design headcount. Only 10% of design leaders expect to reduce design headcount. And 8% of design leaders say they are shifting investment toward hybrid roles like design engineers. However, expectations for design talent have shifted. 50% of design leaders are looking for greater emphasis on AI tool fluency when it comes to hiring. And 48% of design leaders are placing greater emphasis on system thinking and strategic skills. I would just call it business sense or product sense. The head of consumer experience design at DoorDash put it pretty clearly. Designers will probably have one of two paths. Either you get more technical or more business savvy. And the unicorn is the person who can do both. Work out what the business needs and ship it with high craft quality. However, most of the data we see today comes from top designers with 10 plus years of experience from top companies in the Silicon Valley. And with every revolution, the rest of the world will always be significantly slower to catch up than the ones pushing the revolution forward. Based on everything I shared today, I think that if you are an experienced product designer, then there are two things you can do right now to secure your career for the future. Number one is to improve AI fluency, and number two is improve your business sense. But AI fluency really doesn't mean just using AI for everything, because AI at the end of the day is an amplification tool, and it amplifies your design skill and product sense. Just like I said, it brings great ideas to life faster, but it can also bring bad ideas to life faster. As Figma put it, even as AI makes it faster and easier to build almost anything, what it cannot do is decide what's worth building, or make sure the thing that ships actually works to the people who use it. That's always been designers' job. It just matters more now. If you want to learn about how I use and not use AI in my design process, I break everything down in this video and you shall check it out. If you want to become more business savvy and make sure AI doesn't just bring you more work, but also more authority, then this is the right video for you. I'll see you there. If you're a beginner trying to enter product design, don't let AI fluency replace design fundamentals or product sense. AI can amplify your skills, but you still need the skill at the first place to guide the AI tool and figure out what is wrong. That's exactly what I teach at Fast Track UX. We are a Figma Trusted Design Education Bootcamp, and you can enroll anytime through the link here. My name's Aliena. I talk about design, tech, and business. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in this video. Bye!